time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back, people. Welcome back. It is Sunday. We are recording this. I say we. It's such a bad habit to get into. As many people watched the show last week, episode 198, saw something they had never seen before, saw something that they thought would never happen. And that was the very first solo episode of this podcast. I, Brian, took on the reins. I ran the show. Ron was on vacation. He went to the Bahamas. Apparently, that is more important than his sworn duty to join me every Sunday doing this podcast. Apparently, there is no internet. There is no Wi-Fi in the Bahamas. Otherwise, he would have joined. And the feedback from last week's episode, so compellingly positive, so outrageously fantastical. The people spoke, and they spoke in masses. They said more. We want more Brian. We want less Ron. In fact,
am I live? Am I on now?
Ron?
Am I here?
Is that you?
Brian.
Is that you, Ron?
I apologize for being late. I attempted to log into the website and it seemed like I was locked out. I had to, show my 51% ownership to the folks at StreamYard to get back in. So I'm not exactly sure. They said someone may have changed my access, but I'm not to throw any accusations your way.
I forgot to mention to you that there was an attempted hack coming from overseas, Eastern Europe. So what I needed to do was I had to just basically build the account from scratch. I could have sworn that I assigned you the same privileges that I gave myself, and I'm terribly sorry if for whatever reason.
The screen back. That feels better. I need to be on the left-hand side of the screen.
Doesn't it? It feels great to have you back, Ron.
It is episode 199 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Yes, Brian, thank you for last week. I have been back in the States for a little less than 24 hours. I've been on the phone with our producer, Matt Beaker, for most of that time, reviewing the emails and the voicemails that came in since you did last week's episode. I did attempt to reach out to you prior to the episode, Brian, to go over some of these items, and I seem to keep going to voicemail. So I don't know what that challenge was. I
have my do not notify. Sorry about that.
So are you okay if we just kind of go over some of these items here?
What items?
Just a few corrections from last week. I would like, first, I like to look at this as what we call in the HR world as a praise sandwich. You want to start off with, something positive and then get the constructive criticism and then finish on a high note. So I'll say this, kudos to you for doing a 1 hour and 40-minute show in my absence last week, a supersized episode, 198 was. Matt is still working on cleaning that episode up. He is cutting out your random musical interludes, times when you would ramble seems like a harsh word. You would diverge from the topic, let's say.
Fair.
So he's cleaning that up. Again, you did an hour, 40 minutes. He thinks it's going to be probably around a tight 32 minutes once he cuts a lot of that excess stuff out. So people were reaching out. Can I address some of the corrections from last week?
I'm sure you only have a couple. I know we have a lot to get to. I know we have, we're going to talk about your vacation. Yep. We have some COVID news. We have beef of the week. We have drink of the week.
All the usual.
We've got everything that's going on in the Ukraine to talk about. We have sports stuff to talk about.
This time's gotta stop.
Sorry, I had to break that out again. Speaking of COVID, you said last week you referred to your long form COVID, which seemed more appropriate for taxes. Apparently, it is long haul COVID that you meant to say. You kept making a lot of noises, drinking and whatnot, which you would refer to at times correctly as ASMR, but also would call it AMSR at times, which is advanced microwave scanning radiometer. So a lot of our satellite fans out there were a little confused about that.
Shit.
You misplaced the sound effects, but to your credit, you tried to make some up. But the very astute farming listeners out there, when you made the moo sound for beef of the week, a lot of people picked up on the fact that in the actual sound effect we use, that's a red Angus cow, where yours was closer to a Holstein Friesian cow. But close. Our male fans in the 40 to 59 demographic enjoyed your Bill Burr in Philadelphia reference. So that percentage of the audience enjoyed it. What else did we receive here? Oh, we received a very strongly worded letter from Visit Williamsburg due to the fact that you did not realize that there was a Williamsburg in Virginia as well as Brooklyn when doing your drink of the week. What else? And then just from a standard English language standpoint, you were talking about Ukraine, how people were dislocated from their families. No one really knew what you meant. They thought maybe you meant separated. You said audacious instead of audacious at one point. A few people pointed that out. And
hold on a second. Fuck you. You mispronounced more words than documentary.
Listen, I'm just going off of the feedback we got. Also, in talking about the Patreon, you said that we did that to taste our beaks, which I believe the actual phrase is wet our beaks. But again, we're still going through a lot of the emails. Stuyvesant High School did reach out to us to let us know that after listening to that podcast, they were revoking your diploma and asking you to repeat some courses. And I'm still not sure what point of last week's podcast caused the Anti-Defamation League and the Nation of Islam to issue a joint statement denouncing the podcast. I have not come across that point just yet. But again, you put content out there. You brought joy to the masses. So that's all I can say. So thank you, my friend, for taking care of the show last week.
Now, much like the mail-in vote in Pennsylvania in 2020, isn't it possible that going through the listener feedback right now, you've really landed on the section of corrections, and that the comments you have yet to review, that is where you're going to see a overwhelming majority come in with "Great job, Brian." Brian should own 51%. Goodbye, Ron. Ron needs to go on vacation. Like, isn't it possible that when we get to the final tally of the emails and letters, I mean, the mail system is still slow because of the pandemic.
It's very possible we've only gone through about 20% of the feedback we've received from last week. So if that's the case, I will let you know during next week's episode.
That's fair. And I know you are a man of your word. I know you're a man of integrity, of honesty, of...
Yes, audaciousness. Well, let's get this Ron and Brian episode 199 going correctly with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud. Drink of the Week. Pleasure.
Drink of the Week. Drink of the Week.
Just a couple of quick comments here in the feed. First off, welcome Samantha, joining us from the West Coast, longtime listener, first-time watcher. Appreciate you being here. And Janelle commenting that I came from the Bahamas with the same complexion I went in. I have a little bit of a tan. I actually even have...
I see it right here. I see it in your cheeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little sunburn on the arms and legs, but we'll get into that when we discuss vacation. Brian, what are you drinking this week?
This week, compliments of the Paramount Theater in Huntington, Long Island. I am drinking some of Long Island's finest. We're talking Montauk Brewing Company. They've got something that they call the Wave Chaser IPA. Now, you may be asking yourself, hey, Brian, why is this compliments of the Paramount Theater in Huntington, New York? Well, my friend's Life of Agony played a concert there on Friday night, and the fine venue backstage basically took one of those blue and white coolers that they filled it with beer. Now, one of the fun things about Life of Agony is that they're really not big beer drinkers. So therefore, after the show, good old Brian found a large box that was empty and basically filled it with beer and bottles of water. So I'll be, I've got like 8 of these I need to go through between this week and next week. So I am drinking their Wave Chaser. It's an American IPA from Long Island. It's I would describe it as medium amber in color. I would say that it's moderately hoppy with an average ABV coming in 6.4%.
Ooh,
At
nice.
Montauk Brewing Company, they love everything the ocean provides. Fish to feed friends, winds to fill boat sails, water to cool down, and of course, waves. Combining 4 hop varieties to pack this IPA with incredible tropical and pine aromas. May this beer lead you to endless waves everywhere you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Wave Chaser IPA from Montauk Brewing.
I liked beer.
Well,
it's actually it was it's the aftertaste. It's that bitter hoppy aftertaste. It's very tasty when it's on the palate. It is very fun while you're swallowing it. But the bitter aftertaste is something that's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
I understand. And you were off of IPAs, but you cannot turn down free beer. I know how that is.
Beggars can't be choosers, and I cannot turn down free beer.
It's a valid question from Billy asking you, is it Montauk, New York or Montauk, Virginia?
This is legitimately a New York beer. Thank you very much. Moving on, Ron, what have you brought to the table? I imagine you brought some beer back from the Bahamas.
I did not bring beer back. I did, however, stop in the duty-free store in the airport, and I brought back some Red Turtle vodka. This is a product of the island of the Bahamas. It is pink sand filtered. Not quite sure why, but it is. And it is 40% alcohol content. So I figured I'd do a shot of that to get started off, and then I'm going to mix together a little drink. So let's see how this Red Turtle vodka is.
He downs the whole shot like a man because he's like,
I like it.
Really?
It's actually very good.
What I like is that Ron's doing shots of vodka, and this happens to be the final Sunday of March, which means that tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we on our Patreon will be doing something that we call our After Dark Pajama Party, where we invite our Patreon subscribers at the silver or higher level to come on the show with us. Traditionally, it has been one of the high points of the month. This month, probably not so much, considering that I crushed last week's episode so strong by doing it myself. Sometimes I do it best by myself, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what we hear.
And midgets. Little people, excuse me. But this week is the pajama party. So right now, if you're watching this live, you got an hour and 15 to go over to patreon.com. Go to our page. You know what? It's easier. Go to our website. Click on the link on the upper right-hand corner. Join Patreon if you haven't already. Subscribe to the Ron and Brian podcast page, and you will get a link to watch our pajama party. When Ron starts doing hard liquor, I'm going to tell you something. He takes it up a notch or 2, and sometimes 3. So it's going to be a good one tonight. Also, I have a prepared Can You Beat Ron for March. I looked at last one we did was November. I have been somewhat, yes, pajamas are optional. I love the commentary. Look at this. Pajamas optional. Yes. come on the show, and we will be playing Can You Beat Ron. Previous editions have been based on the traditional Thanksgiving meal. They've been based on horror movies. This month is it's about women. This one's for the ladies.
For National Women's Month.
And also, just to make sure that everybody realizes that if you can beat Ron, not tie him, if you can score more points than Ron during the Can You Beat Ron game, we will donate $25 to a charity of your choice. So so it really is it's just a great thing for everyone across the board. We've got a game tonight. We've got an hour. If you haven't already signed up, sign up now. Go do it, and you'll be able to watch Ron get sloppy.
All right.
Sloppy Ron's the best.
It's a fun time. In the meantime, what do we have? Beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
I really hesitated on this one.
Okay.
I was going to come with some fluff. I was going to come with something that was just a mild annoyance, but wasn't really anything that was just too big. And over the past, I would say maybe 48, 72 hours, a real beef, one that, I don't take lightly, has emerged within my head. And you know me, I don't really get personal very much. I like being transparent, but even there are some things I like to keep behind the curtain. Right. But this week I'm going to bring it out there. I'm going to bring it out there and be very genuine right now. It's people who take PMA too far.
What's PMA?
Positive mental attitude.
Oh, all right.
As some people are aware, my father has been in the hospital, in and out of facilities for the past, at this point, we're going on 3 months. He's had COVID. He had a stroke. He broke his hip. And now over the past 2 weeks or so, he has pretty much stopped eating, which means that, in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, but everything I've learned about the human body, and even I've gotten some indications from doctors, but he will, his days on this planet are numbered. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but when people stop eating, that's usually a sign. What has really gotten to me, and it's gotten worse over the last couple days or so, is that as I'm trying to tell people what's going on, I'm actually I guess being more forthcoming with details to try to let people know, hey, this is kind of coming up. And what has really irked me and driven me crazy are people who turn around and say, oh, you know what? I'm sure he's going to turn it around. He'll be back on his feet in no time. It's just, don't worry about it. He's going to start eating again and he'll be back. You just, don't even worry about it. He's going to be here for a long time, buddy. And then they slap me on the back or whatnot. And it's like, I'm trying to tell you something here. Do me a favor, put your lifestyle behind, and accept what I'm telling you, that this is going to be something bad. That is my beef of the week.
Understandable. I can certainly empathize with that.
Of all people, I'm sure you could also.
It's like, I think people have a uncomfortableness when dealing with other people's like trauma and grief. So
yes,
the go-to is to be like overly positive. And sometimes you just need to be realistic and be like, yes, it's going to suck. And what you're about to go through is going to suck.
And there are times where it is, you're on the fence. It's 50% this way, 50 the other. And, I can understand someone being like, hey, choose to look on the positive side of things. But as I'm sitting there telling people up to the point of the man's dying, it could be at any moment now. Just to have somebody pat me on the back and be like, hey, he's going to be back on his feet at, no time, as they like walk away. It literally is like, if I could commit violence, I would commit an act right then and there.
So what you're saying is, rather than going like 50-50, they should really think in their heads and go 51% one way, 49% another.
Ron, what's your beef of the week?
My beef of the week.
I cannot believe, in all honesty, I just opened up on this podcast in a way that I have never done before, and you decided to respond to it with a weak joke about a running bit that we've been doing on this podcast for 2 years. Really, truly insensitive on your part.
That's why I don't want to give you PMA. So I did the exact opposite.
Ron, it's
Yes.
now your turn. Beef of the week, go for it.
Beef of the week. My beef this week is with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. That's right. Prince William and Kate Middleton are my beef of the week. As some of you may or may not know, they have been taking a tour of the Caribbean. They were down in the Bahamas at the same time I was. They actually got to the Bahamas on Thursday for an event in downtown Nassau on Friday for something called the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, whatever
Sure.
that was. They're actually staying in my hotel. I was at the Royal at Atlantis, and there's a bridge that connects the two towers with this humongous suite over the top of it. Apparently, they were staying there. So we initially had to change our plans about, we were thinking about possibly going into downtown Nassau on Friday. Everyone was like, don't do that. The roads are going to be closed, security everywhere, whatever.
Sure.
So that was fine. So then Saturday is the day we're going to fly home. We had like a 2:40 flight that would have gotten us home around like 6:00. So not too shabby. We're checking the flight coming in. There was a flight that left Philly that was going to land in Nassau. That was the plane we were going to get on to go home. So we're sitting there. We're at the airport. We're like, we're good. We're good to go. And then all of a sudden, the departure time jumped from like 2:40 to like 4:15. And all of a sudden, our plane's in Miami. We're like, what the hell is going on? Well, this was a direct flight. What the hell is going on? And then the flight just eventually kept getting pushed later and later and later. And I mean, we got home by the time we got to the airport, got our luggage, got home. We didn't get home till like after 10 last night. So apparently what happened, and the stewardess, God bless her, was willing to throw some shade on the Royals when we got on the plane. Apparently what happened is because they've been getting such a negative reaction as they've been traveling through the Caribbean, because of the whole thing when the UK owned those islands and there was slavery and everything else. And Prince William didn't really apologize, just said it was, just not good, but didn't apologize. So they decided to take off early. So because of that, they had to clear all the airspace in and around, the Bahamas. And our flight was caught up in that, did not have enough fuel to circle around the Bahamas for the hour or so that they would needed to. So they got diverted to Miami to refuel, and then had to fly from Miami back to the Bahamas, which is only like a half-hour flight. But because it screwed up all the flights, they had to wait till there was an actual gate that they could land at. They just jacked up our entire day. That's my beef, Brian. It is not as serious as yours. I will give you that much. But
so my father's dying in the hospital. That's and your beef is that your flight had to go back to Miami before it could come pick you up.
I had a few hour delay, Brian. That is my beef. The general public was my beef of the past week, being on vacation, but we can certainly get into that more as we talk about vacation.
Can we slide into how was Ron's vacation?
We can, definitely. I mean,
I feel like now would be a good time. I mean, it's I've had a very trying week. I don't know about you. For the past week, I've been traveling back and forth to a hospital out in Long Island to visit my father. Some days, he was interactive. Some days, very lethargic, not really awake much. It's very emotionally hard to see your father that way. It's hard to see any parent in that form. But Ron, tell me about your week. How was it? Tell me about the trips to the beach. Tell me about the playing in the water, the ocean.
I would say, I want to say magical. We were traveling with the Jardys on vacation. So always enjoyable to be traveling with another couple. Really makes for a fun time. We did a walking history tour of the Bahamas with food and drinks on Monday. We flew out to Staniel Key on Tuesday so we could do a full tour of swimming with the pigs and Iguana Island and sandbars and swimming with nurse sharks and everything else. And then just, we went out to the fish fry area there, had some great food, walked around downtown, went to Senior Frogs, tried to relive our younger days by going to Senior Frogs down there. And yes, a lot of beach time, a lot of pool time, a lot of drinking, a lot of great meals. I love the Bahamas. I'm not going to lie. If you ever get a chance, head down to Nassau. Just beautiful, beautiful sun, beautiful water, beautiful beaches. The people are fantastic. The people are very friendly, very welcoming. The other people that visit Nassau, just the general public is just disgusting, Brian. And it's just that was the only drawback.
How so?
People are very just kind of rude. They don't keep an eye on their kids. I think I got run into by multiple children because no one keeps an eye on their kids. If it weren't for the people, I could vacation all the time.
So if you could own the Bahamas all by yourself and you could treat people there that you could treat them like they were underlings, that they were peasants, peons, you would do that. That would be something that you'd be interested in.
I would not.
So
I would not do that.
it almost feels like if you had the opportunity to do what the British royal family did for hundreds of years, you also would have taken that opportunity. Am I right, or am I misreading the situation here?
I think you're misreading it a touch, just a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, Nassau is great. Again, the people there are great. Fun fact, if you don't realize this, Brian, there are no native Bahamians in the Bahamas. And you can thank Mr. Christopher Columbus for that.
So he brought people to an empty island?
No, he was responsible for eradicating 100% of the indigenous population.
Oh shit! I did not know that.
So it's a big mix. A lot of Haitians, a lot of Greek, but no native people there anymore. Not even a history. Even the history was eradicated thanks to him.
Did you show any patience for the Haitians?
Constantly. In fact, our tour guide on Monday was Haitian. She's delightful. So you want to hear something weird? We were there in November of 2019, took this food and walking tour, and the tour guide, Lisa, was fantastic. She'd only been working there a few months. We booked this tour again because we wanted the Jardis to go with it because that's how good it was. Got the same exact tour guide, and she was just as wonderful as she was the first time.
Very good. Was there were you able to talk to people about what their pandemic experience has been? I imagine this is your first time out of the country since the pandemic started.
It is. I mean, so Lisa, our tour guide, had a chance to talk about it because apparently it's just been recently that they have been allowing people on a larger scale to come back in the country. It really was a case of where the country initially just shut down completely. The government spent billions of dollars to support people. And it was also kind of an awakening for the people there because they are so heavily reliant on tourism that they realize that they need to now kind of diversify and, find other income streams to their economy and see what else they can do to, not be as reliant on tourism, because if something like this were to happen again, obviously they would have a very similar impact.
Have they thought about getting into the crypto game?
Possibly. There was some ads for crypto floating around.
Maybe some data mining farms. Okay.
Yes, Janelle, we did go snorkeling. We actually got to go to a grotto where they had filmed Thunderball, the 007 movie that was in that film. So yeah, it was a good time was had by all.
Another killer comment: is clothing optional in the Bahamas?
There were a couple of beaches that our cab driver told us about, but we did not make it over that way.
Okay, that's something that I would like to see you and the wife partaking in.
Well, maybe the next time we go down to the Bahamas, you will be able to join us that time.
Very nice, very nice. Maybe next time I won't have a parent who's in the hospital But no. You enjoy your vacation. I'm sure that meant a lot to you and the wife.
Yes, thank you. Brian, what would you like to talk about this week?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the fact that you are self-centered. Let's talk about Ukraine, Russia, the war. What is going on, Ron?
I mean, it seems, from what I'm reading, it seems that Russia has still not been able to make headway into the capital of Kyiv. I read the other day that Ukraine is in a situation of having more Russian POWs than they can handle at this point, between the armies that they are capturing and are surrendering. I mean,
Have they thought of genocide? Just kill these guys.
I mean, it's I think if it was the other way around, I think the Russians would think of that, but I don't know if
Sure.
Ukraine's leaning that way. But it feels like it's getting to a point where Russia is going to have to admit defeat. I think it's shaping up to be a very similar situation as their invasion of Afghanistan in the 80s. Where it was a protracted campaign where they weren't able to gain ground, and
Sure.
the cost of human lives, the cost of equipment. Like I saw a photo of one of the cities down there where they had lined up all of the Russian vehicles that they had captured, and it was in the hundreds. I mean, it's just insane. What are you hearing from your folks on the Ukraine side?
My family's is historically Russian,
Not literally
not
your folks,
Ukrainian.
your people. I know you've got people over there. What are they? What's the intel that they're getting to you?
The intel that I am getting is an acknowledgement that the Russian military, while albeit more powerful than the Ukrainian, is has fallen incredibly short than where the world's expectations of the Russian military's performance was going to be. This was, by all estimations, expected to be a week or two in terms of amount of time it was going to take the powerhouse Russia to overpower and put in a puppet government in the Ukraine. We are now looking at over a month, and really, I don't want to say that we're in a quagmire already, but they have been stymied in so many different cases. What you're getting is a lot of intelligence from the West being flowed over to the Ukrainian military and the government. You are seeing weaponry that is being passed down, albeit not directly from America, but more so. What is most surprising to people is how ineffective Russia's military has performed on its own. Earlier, I believe this weekend, the Russian military actually terminated the general in charge of the 1st Tank Division that had been tasked with going into Ukraine. And what the most surprising factor of it was that for the first, I would say the second and third week of the invasion, there was a lot of talk of, hey, at some point Russia's going to start sending their best, and that's going to be the wave of when this really turns. And what we've now found, ooh, that's harsh.
That seems like Janelle is rooting for the Russians. All right, well,
It does feel that way. But it seemed, but by firing the general of the 1st Tank Division, what Russia basically just advertised is that they did send their best of the best in tanks.
Right.
It was the method that they decided they were going to use to overpower, was to flood the country with their best tank divisions, and that has been an utter failure. So there is no a second wave that will be better than the first. I think what is most dangerous is going to be the next phase of this war, because now you're looking at a Russia that really does not have options to scale back, in terms of saving face. So now what you're looking at is a much more dangerous Putin, a much more dangerous Russian military, where they're more likely going to be using more destructive, less what's the word I'm thinking of? Less specific types of missiles. They're going to be launching them at civilian centers. They are going to be attacking individuals, no longer military installations. They're not going to be going after infrastructure. Now they're going to start waging a war of terror on the Ukrainian people because they realize that their plan originally is not going to work. Their second plan failed. So the third plan is just using their massive amounts of missiles and bombs. And this is where they're going to most likely really inflict a lot of ugly damage.
Right.
A lot of innocent civilians are going to die. And there's a lot of people who live in New Jersey who like to post witty little things on Twitter and Facebook about their day, and are suddenly going to be faced with the reality of the ugliness that's going on in the world.
All right. Well, we will continue to keep an eye on that. Brian, you are our foreign expert here on the Ron and Brian podcast.
Yes.
So
thank you.
We appreciate your feedback. Jumping back. Yes.
Hold on. Can we comment one more thing about Russia, Ukraine before we move on?
Of course.
I did some research this week. I was not happy with what I saw.
Okay.
I was not happy. I was very concerned, in all honesty. And I feel like you and I may need to alter the messaging on the podcast of the show.
Okay.
I did a quick search in the history of our podcast. In fact, we've been on the air for so long that our podcast host only provides 24 months of data.
We got to talk to them about that.
And in that time frame, we have more Russian downloads than Ukrainian downloads by a factor of 5 to 1.
Now,
for every download that's coming in from Ukraine,
right,
we are getting 5 in Russia.
Well, here's my question, because I saw those numbers you put up, and it was disappointing. How does that equate on a population basis?
Oh, okay. Hold on a second now, my friend. Now you're talking about percentage of population. I'm talking about pure downloads.
No,
you can't just revise how we're going to be looking at something here.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that what we have to look at it is in terms of total downloads. Oh, right. Wait a second. Now, if the Ukrainians want to start contributing money to the podcast, if they're looking to sponsor a beer, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I'll drink Ukrainian every day. Every day we'll drink Ukrainian beer.
All right.
Where are we moving on to, Ron?
We were jumping back over to the United States because I wanted to talk about this RaDonda Wright story.
Sure.
I just found out about or heard about this past week. So she was a nurse at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center down in Tennessee. There was a situation back in December of 2017 where she was involved in the death of a patient, Charlene Murphy. Apparently, Murphy was prescribed a sedative called Versed to calm her before being scanned in an MRI machine. Vaught was supposed to get the Versed from a computerized medicine cabinet, but ended up getting something called Vercuronium, which is a powerful paralyzer, and it ended up...
Hold on, what was that one again? The second one you just named?
You just want to hear me stumble on the word again.
No.
Vercuronium.
Vercuronium?
Vercuronium, which is a paralyzer, apparently.
I used to give that to all my dates back in college. Like, that was my move, I would take them out for wings and beer, and when I was pouring their second drink, I would always put a little Vercuronium in it, and anyway. 60% of the time, it worked every time.
Anyway, so she injected Murphy and left her to be scanned. By the time the error was discovered, Murphy was brain dead. She was taken off life support and died. And so, obviously an obvious medical error. There was policies in place supposedly at the medical center. But at the end of the day, it came down to kind of human error, but human error based off of the way procedures were handled at this medical center.
Sure.
Now the challenge is, when Vaught was interviewed by law enforcement. She said, I probably just killed a patient. She told a medical board that she had become complacent and distracted. So she ends up getting stripped of she gets fired. She gets stripped of her nursing license. Well,
my dates in college were also getting stripped.
In 2019,
God damn it! I wish I hadn't gone down that road. I'm
I know.
so ashamed that I'm joking about vercuronium.
Vercuronium.
Yeah, those aren't jokes I want to make, but it's the low hanging fruit right now. Keep going, Ron. Sorry.
So in 2019, she gets arrested and charged for this death. And
when did the death happen?
In December of 2017.
Okay, so 2 years later,
she gets charged in 2019. She goes on trial starting a week before last and gets convicted of gross neglect of an impaired adult and negligent homicide, and faces 3 to 6 years in prison for neglect, 1 to 2 years for negligent homicide. And a lot of people are pointing to this as, something that can really, scare people off from getting into the nursing field. And it's also apparently pointing out the difference between how mistakes by nurses are handled compared to how mistakes by doctors are handled. Doctors but again, the fact that it was raised to the level of a criminal issue and now a conviction, really has drawn attention to this. But it's also now drawing attention to Vanderbilt University Medical Center itself, because it seems like the issue is more systemic failures over the years at this medical center, which have seemingly not been addressed. So there was, and I have to give credit to TikTok user Muscles and Nursing. Which is
no, fuck you. Fuck you. You are not making a reference to Muscles in Nursing for a TikTok username. You are not going to. You did not have to do that. You did that intentionally, you piece of garbage human being. You did that intentionally because you wanted to say Muscles in Nursing because you knew you would get a reaction out of me, and it did, because I'm a sucker. I'm predictable.
But so here's some cases that he pointed out at this same medical center, this same medical network. In 2017, 2 Vanderbilt University Medical Center doctors said under oath that they mistakenly implanted a medical device in the wrong kidney. The patient, Carla Miller, received a stent in the wrong kidney, which was then removed and placed in the correct kidney. But the damage done to her urinary system required her to need dialysis for the rest of her life. The mistake happened when urology resident Dr. Elizabeth Green announced the wrong side of Miller's body when the procedure began. And apparently, normally, the surgical team could have checked the site against an electronic whiteboard that displays the checklist of patient information. However, the whiteboard was not working, so they just went ahead and did it without the equipment properly working. Miller sued Vanderbilt for $20 million and then died 2 months later due from heart problems, which the family lawyer plans to argue that the kidney issue contributed to her death. But both Green and Dr. Kelvin Moses, the other doctor involved in the botched surgery, kept their licenses and are still practicing today. In May 2011, Patricia Green Gaydon underwent a thyroid biopsy in order to test for cancer. The results came back inconclusive, and the medical staff recommended further testing in order to determine whether or not she had cancer. Her thyroid gland was surgically removed the next month, but the gland was lost before the doctors were able to complete the necessary tests. Vanderbilt Hospital, this is the best sentence of the article that I pulled this from. Vanderbilt Hospital did not deny that the gland was lost in their response, but claimed that the organ was not lost due to negligence.
Run that by me again?
So they agreed. They admitted that they lost the gland.
Okay.
But that the organ was not lost due to negligence.
Oh, okay. So they're trying to say it was lost, but it's not our fault that we lost it.
But they admitted they lost it in their care, but it wasn't because of negligence. Like, how else would you lose an organ?
Okay.
Anyway, a jury would later award the woman $2 million in a lawsuit against Vanderbilt Medical. What else do we have here? In March 2021, a $10 million lawsuit was filed against the Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt by the Ward family, who alleges they were given the remains of another child instead of their own son. Lisa Ward's son, Matthew, was admitted to the hospital with a serious medical condition, and he died on October 1st. Vanderbilt released Matthews' remains to a funeral home for cremation, and when the family picked up the ashes, they were given photos taken by the funeral home, which showed a white baby, not their black 11-year-old son.
Oh my God.
The funeral home confirmed that was the body with Matthews' ID tag that was released to them by Vanderbilt. The case is still going on, and no one can say for sure where Matthews' remains are. Apparently, it's very difficult to do DNA testing on cremated remains. What else do we have here? Oh, Ethan Slater went to the same children's hospital at Vanderbilt in 2012 for a tonsillectomy. When he had an allergic reaction to hydrocodone, doctors wrote him another prescription. What was that prescription for, Brian?
Hydrocodone?
Liquid oxycodone. The dose prescribed to Ethan, 300 milligrams a day, exceeded the higher range of his recommended dosage by nearly 3.5 times. The highest recommended range was 85 milligrams a day. After he received the second dose, Ethan was rushed back to Vanderbilt, suffering from respiratory depression and cardiac arrest, and had to be treated with Narcan to reverse the overdose.
Right.
His mother sued both Vanderbilt and Walgreens, who filled the prescription. No disciplinary actions were taken against the doctor who wrote the incorrect prescription. And then the other one was in April 2016, Chesta Shoemaker, a 44-year-old nurse, was admitted to the Vanderbilt Medical Center suffering from a severe kidney infection. Dr. Gretchen Edwards, a second-year resident, accidentally placed a catheter into Shoemaker's right common carotid artery, which cut off blood circulation to the brain. By the time the error was noticed, Shoemaker had suffered a stroke and severe brain damage and died the next day. In February 2019, Shoemaker's family filed a lawsuit against Vanderbilt. Under deposition, Dr. Edwards admitted that she had not followed Vanderbilt policy requiring verification of central line placement and that she was unaware that any such policies existed. She also testified that she had previously placed between 50 and 100 central venous catheters while unsupervised, which is also a violation of Vanderbilt policy. The attending physician, Dr. Addison May, attested in a chart note that he was, quote, personally present throughout the procedure, but was not. Also, radiologist Dr. William Laxton admitted he had misinterpreted the film of a portable X-ray he had taken of Ms. Shoemaker and incorrectly reported the central line was properly placed. The death certificate completed by Vanderbilt assistant professor Dr. Eli Zimmerman, who testified in RaDonda Wright's trial, falsely certified that Ms. Shoemaker died a natural death. Brian, would you like to guess how many of the doctors involved in that case lost their license or are no longer practicing medicine?
I just...
This time's gotta stop.
So now again, do not mistake what I'm saying here. I think, there does need to be accountability to a standpoint.
Of course.
These medical errors and things like that. But to charge a nurse criminally, to have a woman now looking at 3 to 6 years in prison, when you clearly have issues at your medical center, where you are clearly treating doctors differently than you are treating nurses, it shows that the entire system is fucked up, but yet you're going to bring everything down on this one woman.
And hold on a second, if I can play devil's advocate for a moment.
Of course.
If you have drawn the line of incompetence and you said no more, we are no longer going to allow this to happen and look the other way. We're now going to start holding our people accountable equally. And this happens to be the first case post policy change. I am all in favor of it. You take on a massive responsibility. And keep in mind, Ron, let's not forget, as I mentioned earlier, I am going through a personal, and I'm just kidding. I was just gonna be an asshole, but I don't want to be an asshole because that's actually serious. But you take on a massive responsibility when you become a doctor. You take on a massive responsibility when you become a nurse, and a certified nursing aide. That comes with an increased level of diligence that you have to take on to conduct the day-to-day activities of your job. If this hospital is saying we demand excellence from our people and we are not going to allow people to die under our care because our people were careless, and that starts now, I'm okay with this.
Right.
If they are singling her out and tomorrow somebody passes away under their medical care and they look the other way on that, then I have a problem. Because absolutely, you need to hold people to an equal standard across the board.
Right.
But if you're going to let if you're going to let these 9 people, it sounded like you read about 12 of them. If you're going to let these 12 people go free, Muscles in Nursing, was that the TikTok account name?
Yes.
It was Muscles in Nursing. Muscles in Nursing. Next time, instead of doing the 3-minute video, can you please help my poor podcast out and keep it to 5 examples? Ron is only allowed 5 examples, and then we need to move on.
Right.
But all joking aside, if they're going to let incompetence continue and people to die, then this woman needs to go free. If they are going to hold all their staff to a high level of or to the standard that family members are expecting their loved ones to be cared for, then I think that she also, I mean, if she's telling, the cops, I let somebody die, I killed someone, I became complacent, I was not giving 100%. I think that there has to be some consequences to this.
But again, the consequences. I mean, she's lost her job. She's lost her medical license. So she won't.
People died. Somebody died because of this. So she lost her license. She can still get a job at Walmart. Somebody died because of that. Family members were absolutely destroyed because of an unnecessary death. And you're looking for sympathy for her because she lost her license?
I'm not looking for sympathy. My point
now, had she,
is,
excuse me, I'm talking. Hold on. I'm talking. Hold on 1 second. Now, if she lost her driver's license and was not able to be an Uber driver or a DoorDash delivery person, then I can understand you being upset, because we know you love your Uber Eats. We know you love your DoorDash. So RaDonda Wright?
RaDonda Wright.
RaDonda Wright, she would not be able to work in the suburban Philadelphia market delivering you and your wife cookies at 11:30 at night when you have a sweet tooth hankering.
My point being is I'm not looking for sympathy for her. My point being is she made a mistake in the point of doing her job.
Yes, so of course.
Now she has lost that job. She can't do that job again. Is it fair to raise it to the point of a criminal offense?
Yes. You know why? Because once she starts to lose this job and she takes her next job as a delivery person for Walmart Groceries Plus Premier in suburban Philadelphia, she's going to start delivering you the wrong groceries, and that's going to be your beef of the week.
Anyway, so her lawyers have already stated she will file an appeal. People are already asking for clemency for her. They are asking for the Texas Nursing Board to be investigated now. So I don't think this story will end anytime soon.
I thought this was in South Carolina.
This was in Tennessee. Vanderbilt is in Tennessee. It's in Nashville.
So what does Texas have to do with this?
When did we talk about Texas?
You just said the Texas Board of Health.
I said the Tennessee Board of Tennessee Nursing Board.
People, can I get a vote on that? I swore I heard Texas. Somebody, please chime in. Did Ron just say Texas?
But this time's gotta stop.
No
fuckers. They're all quiet. They're silent. God damn it.
Anyway, Brian.
Swore I heard you say Texas. That's my correction for next week.
There you go. One quick COVID story this week, Brian. I understand that there is a vaccine mandate update for New York City. Can you update us on what this is?
I will make this quick because I know time is of the essence. We spent a very long time talking about how your flight was delayed getting to you and how it ruined your day. And that was your beef of the week because, important things were really flying. So New York City, baseball season is going to be starting in another week or two. The basketball season is winding down as we start heading into playoff season. Hello. Thank you very much. Suck it, Ron. Suck it deep. Suck it fast. Suck it sloppily. All over. You said Texas. You son of a bitch. Anyway, so suddenly sports are now becoming a little bit more on the radar in New York City. As loyal fans of the show know, basketball player Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets has failed to show any proof of COVID vaccination. Therefore, he has not been allowed to play home games in New York City, which requires employees of private companies to have to require that workers who show up be able to show proof of vaccination. So Kyrie Irving has not been allowed to play at home games. He has been able to play on road games, but not home. Baseball season is starting. There are allegedly players on both the Mets and Yankees who are unvaccinated. This mandate that New York City put through about maybe 2 months ago would have forced unvaccinated baseball players to not be able to play home games, despite the fact that vaccine mandates have been waived for attendees of the baseball. So what did New York do? New York sat there and said, be kind and rewind. New York has waived the vaccine mandate for private employers, for athletes, for performers, for members of the entertainment world, simply so that our baseball season can be unimpeded, so our basketball season can go into the playoffs. But there were employees of private employers who were fired, who lost their job just as recently as 2 months ago because they were unvaccinated. But we're going to bend the rules for athletes. Fuck Mayor Adams. Bullshit.
All right.
If you're going to waive it, drop it for everyone. But
Right.
don't give me this bullshit that because an athlete is going to make the team some money and draw attention to your city, that you're going to waive it. You know how we were talking earlier, equal rules for everyone?
Right.
Here's another example of how the
example.
rules don't apply to everybody equally anymore. And it upsets me whenever I see it.
All right.
And I'm pro-vaccine.
You are?
I'm pro-vaccine mandate. No, I'm not pro-vaccine mandate. I'm pro-vaccine.
There you go. Important correction. Well, we can't do a New York City story without doing a Philadelphia story. Tragedy in Philly earlier this week when an accident on the shoulder of I-95 Monday night took the lives of 2 Pennsylvania state troopers, Brandon Siska and Martin Mack III, along with pedestrian Reyes Rivera Oliveras.
Shame.
They were struck by a drunk driver by the name of Jayana Tanae Webb, age 21. Apparently, the troopers had pulled Ms. Webb over initially on I-95, and then they had received a call from 911. Apparently, a number of people were calling about Reyes walking along the shoulder of an I-95. This is kind of a sad story. Reyes had just arrived in the country from Puerto Rico, had flown into Philadelphia International Airport, had no transportation after arriving in the country, and was going to walk from Philadelphia International Airport to Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is, it's an hour drive. So
he was going to walk?
He was going to walk. So he was apparently walking up I-95. The troopers left Ms. Webb to check on him. She attempted to drive away, and in doing so, struck the troopers' SUV and all 3 individuals, all of them pronounced dead on the scene. So she has been arrested and charged with 18 felony counts. One thing people started to notice was some of her comments on social media, which back in January of this year, she commented on Twitter that if you ask me, I'm the best drunk driver ever. And then in February, she tweeted, why did the liquor store close so early, along with a frowning emoji. So obviously she has been roasted on Twitter, but more importantly, she will be, again, charged with 18 counts, including 2 counts of manslaughter of a law enforcement officer. So I feel, she's pretty much ruined her life. So
she killed people. Again, Ron, you're worrying about the people that committed the crime. You're worrying about how she's ruined her. You just said she's ruined her life. But what about the people she killed who don't have a life to ruin anymore?
You're salty. You're very salty today.
No, you're
because of the corrections.
I'm sorry, Ron.
Corrected, and I get that, and I apologize, and I won't go on vacation again. How is that, Brian?
You're rusty, Ron. You're rusty because you're worrying about the oppressors. Ron never used to be a bootlicker, but now you're worrying about the oppressors. You're worrying about the murderers. Oh, their life can't go back to where it was before because they killed innocent people.
Well, I guess all we can do is do celebrity obituaries real quick, Brian.
Speaking of people dying,
Stephen Wilhite, creator of the GIF, died last week at the age of 74, dying from COVID. COVID's still killing people out there, and so he had worked on creating the GIF, or I didn't realize this what this stood for, graphics interchange format.
yes.
So he apparently
And
created it while he worked.
And also, it's a GIF, not a GIF. I prefer GIF, I have to admit.
Everyone says it's pronounced GIF, but
it is a GIF.
So he passed away. Keith Martin, R&B singer, passing away at the age of 55 at his residence in the Philippines. I don't believe a cause of death has been announced yet, but apparently building workers found his body after they were alerted by his neighbors of a foul smell emanating from his home. Officials estimating that he could have been dead for upwards of a week. But obviously, the biggest loss this week, Taylor Hawkins, drummer for the Foo Fighters, passing away shortly before the group was to play in Colombia at the age of 50. Also previously toured with Alanis Morissette.
Yes.
But shocking death, great drummer, great band. We're hearing dribs and drabs come in of reports as to what the cause might have been. But I don't know if we want to talk about anything until there's any official reports as to what it may have been.
Oh, Ron, you've been trying to get us to sympathize for murderers for the past hour, and now you're gonna fucking come bring some level of sensitivity to this. Apparently, there was drug paraphernalia found throughout his hotel room, opioids, cocaine and heroin, I believe, some kind of pills, maybe also. So the Colombian officials are basically setting the plate that this was a drug overdose. We will. Obviously, we are depending. We're just passing along information that the trusted entertainment source, the New York Post, has published on their website. So obviously, we have no firsthand information on it. We did have firsthand information earlier about the disruption to the Bahamian airspace by the visit from the Royals. So that we can say was coming from a firsthand source. This is obviously, a story that is still in the news. Things may change. It can go into directions. It is very possible that Taylor Hawkins was on an airplane that was supposed to land in the Bahamas and instead was rerouted to Colombia.
Well, he was at the Four Seasons in Bogota. So I don't think he was on a plane. And if you're in Bogota, I don't know why you would just automatically assume that drugs may have been involved.
Wow, Ron, I never thought you would make such a slanderous comment.
Sorry.
I mean, I did watch Narcos seasons 1, 2, and 3, so I'm very shocked that you would sit there and talk about Bogota, Colombia, and make a cocaine reference. Really disappointed.
You are pretty much an expert. Another
in what? I'm an expert in what?
You're an expert on drugs because you watch Narcos.
Oh, I am. Yes.
Good point from Billy. Still not one single point claimed in the 2022 Ron and Brian Death Pool. We are, what are we now? We are
the worst. We are the worst this year.
We are 4 days away from the end of the first quarter of 2022, and no one has claimed anything, any points. And we've had a number of significant high-profile deaths in the first 3 months of the year, and nothing at all. So
I put Dave Grohl on my list this year. Who would have thought? I got the wrong drummer.
You were so close, yet so far. Any additional stories on the list that you'd like to follow up on? Should we do the update on the Oklahoma Democrat we spoke about a few months back? Some of you may remember.
There's two stories I'd like to do. This one, and then let's do the impromptu comic.
Oh yeah. So Abby Broyles, she was a candidate for Oklahoma's 5th congressional district. We had talked about how she had gone over to a friend's house who was hosting girls for a sleepover. She became I guess, intoxicated. She called one girl an acne fucker, called another girl a Hispanic fucker, called yet another girl a judgy fucker. So she's got like one trick pony with the curses. And then also allegedly vomited into a laundry basket as well as a girl's shoe. That's one of our favorite stories of the year.
Vomiting in the shoe?
Yes.
Now, question: do you think she vomited in the shoe, or do you think she just vomited and some of it landed in the shoe?
I think she probably threw up on the floor, and there happened to be a shoe there. Would be
got it.
Same thing with the laundry basket. I don't think she intended to throw up in the laundry basket. I think she just threw up again on the floor. There was a laundry basket there. Anyway,
got it.
She sent out a press release on Thursday announcing that she is withdrawing her candidacy, citing a combination of factors, including gerrymandering, recent events, and salacious right-wing clickbait.
Whoa. She's blaming gerrymandering, not I vomited in a child's shoe after calling them a Hispanic fucker.
Yeah. And also, it's not right-wing clickbait. Everybody clicked on this. We're not.
I clicked on it.
We fucking enjoyed this story to the fullest.
I clicked on the same story multiple times just to reread the article. That's how much I fucking love this story.
Just to give it clout. And yes, and our final story, and I think a lot of people saw this. There was apparently on midweek last week at the AMC Burbank 16, there was an issue with a showing of The Lost Island, I believe the movie was. And
is that the comedy trio with Andy Samberg from Saturday Night Live when they did
that would be the Lonely Island
Sunday morning?
I think The Lost Island is Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Oh, is that the one where she's the a hard-headed executive and he is her assistant who is really has a heart of gold, but she forces him into a marriage for a citizenship. And
I think you are thinking of the movie The Proposal, and just the fact that you know the storyline of that movie makes me very concerned for you.
It's actually a cute movie. Go fuck yourself. Betty White was in that movie.
Betty White was in it.
I may have seen that in the theaters.
And Craig T. Nelson was in it too.
He played the father.
He did, yes, he did. And
I think
Mary Steenburgen.
Steenburgen. Who's taking notes on this, people? He just said Mary Steenburgen. Craig T. Nelson, which is ironic. He's been playing the father since the 1970s.
Pretty much.
Like he is. I would love to go through his IMDb page. I would like to go through his IMDb.
Maybe you can go through his AMSR page as well.
Fuck you. I believe he started off playing the father in his acting career. He was probably 19 at the time.
Yeah.
But he already had his hair was already sliding away and he was the father.
Yeah.
Across the board. He was coach.
Anyway, so theater projectors not working. So this woman, Tiffany King, decides to. All right, that's a good one. I gotta give credit to that joke. Mary Steenburgen married to Ted Branson. All right, fair enough. So Tiffany King, who is hold on, let me find the description. She refers to herself as a professional psychic medium, a self-proclaimed momic, and recent winner of Celebrity Dating Game, and also a burgeoning stand-up. She decided to do an impromptu stand-up set in front of people while they waited. Apparently, it was horrible. She apparently used some very racist accents in her act, and people just thought it was just very painful. But she is referring to it now as a victory against misogyny.
Because what does misogyny have to do with this?
I'm not exactly sure.
Tiffany King. If you have not watched this video, Google Tiffany King, TiffanyKing. This woman decides in the middle of a crowded movie theater that she's just going to run up to the front and start doing a stand-up act. Atrocious. The gall of this woman to sit there and think to herself, oh, hold on a second. I'm going to entertain everyone. Terrible. She deserved to have been booed way more than she was. And entertain yourself with that one, folks.
Yes. She apparently also did a little bit of opera while she was up there. Oof. Yeah, watch the video.
Now, at any point, did she do any TikTok dances while she was up there?
I don't believe so. I think she probably would have had a much greater reception if she had.
Good point. Very good point. Anything else, Ron?
Well,
first off, I would just want to say this to you.
Yes.
It's great having you back.
It's fantastic to be back. Thank you.
Last week, I was forced to do a show all by myself. I volunteered for it, so you can't say that I was forced. I decided, given the opportunity to either skip the show or to do it by myself, I said, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let me do it by myself. I believe I did way better than I was expecting I was going to. And at the same time, please do me a favor and never do that to me again. This show is so much better when you're here. The show is more enjoyable. It gave me a genuine sense of what you bring to the table, and not just the 51%, but the ability to, have a second viewpoint, the ability to have somebody correct you when you've gone too far off the rails and whatnot. So I genuinely mean this, sir. Next time you go on vacation, please make sure that you leave Monday morning and you're back by Saturday night.
I will do my best, and thank you for keeping the show going and for your contributions last week. It was a fantastic episode. Speaking of TikTok, if you are not following us on the Ron and Brian podcast on TikTok, head on over to TikTok, follow us. We do some clips from the show on there. At some point, I'm sure we'll maybe do some original content for that.
Sure.
And also, TikTok apparently is going to be rolling out 10-minute videos in the upcoming months, which I think is just perfect. As you know, we used to keep This Week in Racism to a tight 10 minutes. Should we bring This Week in Racism back as a TikTok exclusive?
No, but also keep in mind, and the people who work at TikTok should know, I only require 2 minutes and 30 seconds of videos to finish. So it's not, I don't really need a 10-minute video. The last 7.5 minutes are totally wasted.
Valid point. All right. Well, we are going to get ready for After Dark. It is starting in about 18 minutes. This will be our pajama party where we allow our listeners to join us. You too can join us by going to ronandbrianpodcast.com. Click in the upper right-hand side to become a patron, and we can get you that link if you want to join at the bronze level or higher, $10 a month or more. Again, we funnel all that money back into the podcast and to making this the best podcast it can be. So we will see our podcast folks shortly. We're looking forward to that. Brian, anything additional for this week before we cut out of here?
It's nice to have you back is really all I can say.
Well, it's good to be back, my friend. Looking forward to next week's episode. Looking forward to After Dark.
The big 200 next week. Next week, we will be doing our 200th episode.
Unbelievable. Who would have thunk it? Well, make sure you join us then. Patreon folks, we will see you shortly. Everyone else, have a great week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.